You know, I was just thinking, I've read it, several of these lip service events, I think maybe 6. And I usually, read some depraved tale about my past, but they're always pretty funny, they're always framed like an expansive joke. In the last 2 readings I've read at, I wanted to read this story, I brought it, and brought another one in my back pocket and chickened out at the last moment and made the switch, but my printer's broken. I had to have Joe print up the story for me, and I was too scared to have him print too, so I guess we're going to clear this one off the deck. It's not as funny, but still a little depraved. It's called The Prettiest Girl I Knew. Hang on. Let me get in costume. Up all night again. It was getting to be a ritual. Pedal all week like fools, pumping ourselves up and down the streets of San Francisco. Then, when Friday came, did we rest? Fuck no. We slammed crystal meth straight into our veins. This was 1985, and that was real crystal meth. The real deal. Clenched and clamped, John Adonis and I would sit in my room at 137 Pierce and strum our guitars till our fingers bled. And that Saturday morning was no different. We sat sweating in the cold winter morning, both of us with burning cigarettes hanging out of our mouths, beams of sunlight streaming through the drafty Victorian windows, playing awful, sounding awful. My roommate had an all-night poker game still going down the hall. They sat in the kitchen guzzling beer and bellowing at each other. Nobody really sure if a straight beat a flush or a flush beat a straight. Their overblown curses punctuated only by the slamming of the fridge door. Assholes, we couldn't stand making so much noise we barely even heard the bell. Is that the doorbell? I went to check. We had one of those old-style Victorians with a cast-iron lever up at the top of the stairs to operate the front door. I pulled and swung it open to see the prettiest girl I knew in San Francisco standing on my front stoop. She was also the most fucked up girl I knew in San Francisco. She was the girlfriend of a heroin dealer that lived in a meat locker behind a liquor store on Haight Street. The meat locker had carpet and furniture and pictures on the walls, but it was still a meat locker. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, was all she could gush before the tears started. She ran up the stairs and straight into my arms. It was the closest I'd ever been to the prettiest girl. She smelled awful. That motherfucker, she cried. That fucking asshole. I swept her back into my room before the poker-playing meatheads could hear her female voice. And John was surprised to see her as I was. Shelley! She saw John and went straight from my arms to his. That asshole, that dick, he took everything, all the money, all the pills, everything. She was sobbing, hyperventilating. She told us a tale that painted her boyfriend, TK, as a cold and calculating asshole. It seemed unreal, and maybe it was. So what are you going to do? I asked. Fuck him. I grabbed his jacket, got as many of the pills as I could, and took them. They had been collecting pills for months, waiting for the day they both summoned enough courage to leave town and kick together. There were chloral hydrates, Valiums, blood pressure medications, you name it. All right, said John, let's see what you got. No, she said, I took them. And right as she's telling us this, she begins to wilt. Her words slow down. She moves as though she is underwater. She is melting right in front of us. How long ago? I can hear the fear in my own voice. Just now. She said it like it was nothing, no big deal, and fell backward onto the mattress. Shit, said John. She's going to OD right now, right here. Shelley's face had started to lose color. I reached out to prop her up a bit, and she felt heavy, and that was dead weight. Fuck him, she mumbled and flopped to the floor. Oh, shit, what are we going to do? I pleaded as I shoved her back upright. She absently grabbed at her arm, beginning to pump it, readying for a shot. I watched her little fingers squeeze around her biceps as her eyes rolled back into her head. TK spent all day, every day, getting her to pump up those arms, pump up those veins, and now she was doing it in her sleep. Her pretty face was a little more white. Then she stopped pumping. Her pretty face was a little more blue. Should we call an ambulance? Asked John. Fuck no, I said, but I had no other ideas. What should we do? Let's wake her up. How? I asked. With speed. How with speed? She's too fucked up to snort it. TK can't even hit her when she's awake. I don't even have a rig. Okay, well, she might die then, said John in his matter-of-fact way. What do you mean? My voice was beginning to squeak. I mean, she might die. Look at her. I didn't want to. The prettiest girl I knew was dying on my bedroom floor. I didn't even think she knew where I lived. She's already pumping her veins up. It's worth a shot, said John. How am I going to get it into her? I told you, I don't have a rig. The last one's in the trash. Shelley slumped over onto the floor. Well, you better dig it out then, was all he said. I grabbed a 16-ounce empty Budweiser can and gave it a shake. Nope. I tried another. Nope. I tried a third. Bingo. It took a moment to shake the rig out of there. There was no lid on the point, and the needle kept getting caught on the lip of the can. And finally, I shook it loose. John was busy mixing water with the last of our speed. He dropped in the tiny bit of cigarette filter we used to strain the stuff through, and turned to me for the outfit. I held it up in the sunlight. It was hopeless. The needle on the rig was bent all the way over. I thought if I straightened it, the point would surely break off. I applied a little pressure, and it worked, but it was in no way straight, not even close. John looked up at the rig, bent and gnarled as a fishhook, and handed me the spoon. I tried to suck the speed up through the filter, but my hands were shaking, and the rig was bent. The needle kept scraping against the bottom of the spoon. So now I had an incredibly dull rig, with a bent and barbed point, and a nearly dead girl, with no veins and no blood pressure to hit up. Prop her up, John. You want me to try to hit her? Yeah, I said. Okay, I'll try if you can't get it. Funny guy. I got down there and gave it a blind jab. She wasn't feeling anything or was too paralyzed to say ouch. I began digging and poking and digging and poking in her dead flesh. I pulled it out and gave it another try. Again, I poked and prodded, hoping the bent needle wouldn't snap off and be lost forever in the thin layer of meat under her skin. And then, bam, it registered. Thank you, God. I held one hand steady with the other and pushed the plunger in. It was as though someone had taken their finger off a record album. Her eyes fluttered. The light squeaks that were her murmurs were now gaining a little volume, a little strength. That was it. We saved her life. John and I sat with our jaws slack, staring at our miracle. Shelley was oblivious to what had gone on. She was still mumbling something about TK. She wrapped her right hand around her left bicep and began pumping her arm again. Shelley, said John. I'm pumping, TK, I'm pumping, she said with her eyes closed. Shelley, he repeated. She opened her eyes and looked around, wondering how she got there. What the fuck, she said. She looked irritated. She stood up and said, that asshole. She stood there a minute wavering, her unfocused brain trying to take it all in. She took a few steps, reached out to grab a doorknob, and opened my closet. How the fuck do I get out of here? Her voice on the verge of tears once more. Before waiting for an answer, she yanked at the other door and found her way out. John and I listened to her stumble down the stairs like an old drunk. We went to the window to watch her teeter across the street in the direction of the meat locker. She turned the corner and was gone. That was the first time I had hit somebody else up. It was also the first time I saved a life. Somehow, I didn't feel like a hero. Thank you.